I wanted to weigh in on the question of the miraculous with regard to the attempted assassination of Trump. This is a question that really interests me. I find it very intriguing, and I don't know what to think. I don't have any definitive answers. I don't want to jump to any conclusions, but it's a live question. I think it's something that is worth noodling over, and deciding for yourself, maybe, and maybe praying over it if you're inclined to do that. I don't know. Well, what people are saying. Well, let me start before I go there. Let me start with this. I'm not an expert at in Christian theology, but my understanding is about Christian theology is that, well, miracles do happen. God intervenes in history or intervenes in our lives in various ways that could be called miraculous. Some, if you are Catholic or Orthodox, some miracles have even been deemed to be miraculous, have passed all the tests of what makes for the miraculous, and have been given clearance, and given the stamp of authenticity from the church as indeed being miraculous. Now, in those cases, I should add, the churchman is not required to believe that those events are necessarily miraculous. It's something that the church has said, we think that these things are miraculous, but they're not. In being miraculous, they're not necessary for salvation. So for salvation, you just have to believe, the basics of Christian theology, that Jesus Christ was the Son of God, that he was crucified for our sins, that he died and was resurrected, and all of the stuff in the Nicene Creed and the Apostles' Creed, and elsewhere in the Gospels and the Epistles, and so forth. So, if you are a person of Christian orientation or thought, you should be open to the notion of miracles happening. And it's not an easy thing necessarily to believe. It shouldn't be an easy thing. You shouldn't just expect miracles, because miracles are, by definition, the exception to the rule. If miracles happened, if miracles were a common occurrence, they wouldn't be called miracles. Of course, one could also make a case. I keep going back and forth here. On the other hand, you could also make a case that even creation itself, the existence of life itself, is a miracle, in the sense that where does it come from? The unmoved mover, and all that. But not to get too deep into the vortex of thorny theological questions and issues. Let's fast forward to last Saturday, 1 week ago. A scene that by now pretty much the whole world has witnessed. An assassin, and I've talked about all the things that are strange and certainly fishy about this event. This is not about that, although it is in a way, I suppose, because you could talk about the principalities, powers, thrones, and dominions representing the evil in the world, trying to have their way, and in this case not succeeding, if you want to look at it like that. So what happened in any case was that someone, due to some strange and seemingly unprofessional behavior by the Secret Service, a man was able to get a clear shot at Trump, get several shots at him. I thought it was just 3 or 4 shots. Now I'm hearing like 5, 6, 7, 8 shots maybe before he was finally taken out. And of course, questions about a second shooter. I'm sure you're following all the madness as avidly as myself. But in any case, what has been said, what has been asserted, is that one of the shots that was fired ought to have hit Trump based on the position of his head, based on where his head was, but that he turned his head, almost twitched, turned his head very rapidly to look at the screen where he had these statistics about illegal immigration, and because he turned his head at just a split second, it's not like turn and then 2 seconds later the shot comes. It's like the shot is coming and then he turns before he even hears the shot, and the shot which would have struck him right in the noggin instead goes past his ear, and he's fine. I mean, bloodied and traumatized, likely, as I would imagine anybody who's ever been shot at, ever been hit by a shot, must be, but physically fine. Anyway, that's what they say happened. I don't know for sure if this is true, and I don't want to just ascribe truth to it because it's been talked about or because it's being chattered about. Has anyone found the bullet? Has anyone proven the trajectory of the bullet, or the thing about the head turn? Has that, how much of a sure thing is that? At this point, I don't know. And of course, there's probably people whose agenda would want to favor that did indeed happen, and there's other people who would want to say no. Who would have the opposite agenda, that their agenda would be to say that's all a lie and it didn't have anything to do with him turning his head because the bullet actually came from over here rather than. So there was nothing miraculous about the trajectory of the bullet in conjunction with the sudden turning of the head. But I think it's an interesting question. If we grant that it did indeed happen that way, if the way that it has been characterized, which I don't know, maybe now it's too late. I don't know if we can know for certain that was what happened. I mean, there are several famous shots. By shots, I mean photographs of the event, and one of them is what looks like the bullet, racing through the air. It can't be caught, because it's moving too fast, but you see the disturbance that it makes in the air as it whizzes past Trump's head. So would that be a miracle? And what the things that come to mind to me are the great scenes in Quentin Tarantino's movie Pulp Fiction. For those who haven't seen it, there's an early scene in the movie where Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta's characters, they're a couple of thugs. They're hired goons. They're hitmen. They're assassins, and they've been summoned by their boss to go take out this group of young men who got involved with them, basically stole their money or did something untoward, and thought they got away with it. And so they go to this apartment to to kill these young kids, and they kill most of them, but one of them hides behind the wall and gets a gun and then jumps out, and he fires off like 6 or 7 rounds from just maybe a couple feet away from each of them. And these are bullets that these are bullets that should be hitting both men and killing them. He's just spraying them with bullets, but after he shoots off all of the bullets, and there's nothing more left in the chamber, and it's just click, 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 click. Then the camera cuts to Travolta and Jackson, and they're both completely unharmed, and just staring at the guy, and they look at each other, and then both in unison raise their guns and kill the guy. And later in the film, it's done in a non-linear style. So there's a middle section which happens later, but then we come back to that scene or just after this scene, and Jackson's character Jules, he's looking at the wall. He's saying, "How did all those bullets just hit the wall? How did they miss us? He was right there. The gun. Did you see that gun? It was bigger than him." And he says, "This was divine intervention right here." And Travolta's character says, "No way. No, that's not the case. That there's no way. That didn't happen." But he has no other way of really explaining it. He just thinks it was a fluke. But Jackson's character is so affected by this event. He's so struck by the fact that he was apparently saved. That this impossible thing took place, which should have killed him but didn't, and it's made him now decide to leave the gangster life, and he says basically, "I'm just going to walk the earth like kung fu." So this real change takes place in the character of Jules, and I always thought this was really heady stuff. When I remember when I saw the movie, I thought, wow, this is I wasn't expecting this. I had seen Reservoir Dogs. I knew there'd be a lot of violence. I knew there'd be a lot of clever wordplay and pop culture references and things like that, which was just, Tarantino was like the first director to ever have dialogue with that kind of style, where they made references to stuff happening in pop culture and everything like that. So it was a real novelty at the time, but I wasn't expecting this really intense and profound theological exchange, and this notion of like this guy who's from a certain perspective, the movie doesn't definitively take a stand one way or the other, but on the other hand, from that short of a range, there's just no way that he would have missed like he did. And I whether, again, and something he says is, whether this is according to Hoyle miracle or not isn't what concerns me. He says, what happened was I felt the touch of God. So he's not so concerned about whether it can be definitively proven to be a miracle. And I think to be definitively proven to be a miracle, maybe you would have to say that there was just no way that he could have missed. And it looks that way. It looks that way in the movie. It looks like there's no way the guy could have missed. But I suppose, if you brought some ballistic experts to the scene, they could say, well, maybe the guy was just, wasn't wasn't paying enough attention to the target, and he was so excitable at that moment that there was so much adrenaline that he just shot right past them, and it didn't really have anything to do with the bullets like curving away from them or anything like that. Well, we don't know. We don't know what happened. But what's important is that Jackson's character changes. He leaves the life, as they call it, and he sees it as a sign. And from what I saw of Trump's behavior, I didn't, as I said in the previous video, I didn't watch very much of his speech at the convention, but what I saw of it when he was talking about the shooting, he looked like a man who could not believe what he had just been through. There was this sense of awe about him with regard to what he endured, and the fact that he was spared. I think if you watch that video, I think you'll see it too. So it's Trump is sort of like the Jules character, Samuel L. Jackson's character in Pulp Fiction, and he has been a kind of a gangster, in one way or another, up to this point. But I'm wondering if that moment really, and people talk about how this affects the presidential race, but more importantly, how does this affect the soul of a man? I mean, because we're all important, whether we're presidents or beggars in the street. We're all created in the image and likeness of God. So of course it's an open question how this would affect him, as a potential world leader, but it also is a question of what will it do? What effect will it have over his soul? Which is not, and it's not just about him. It's about any one of us who is put in a situation similar to that. So, I would say whether or not it's an according to Hoyle miracle, that there is something at least miracle adjacent about what took place, if that is, what we're told, what we've been hearing is the truth. So, thoughts, please leave them below.